Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Monster Report. My name is Nick Adam Poley, and I am sandwiched between two other Polings. You know my little big brother here, he's been on the Monster Report before, talking about some Smog Monster and Rodan, and he makes the graphics for our opens. This is Mr. Troy Poling, and I have, for the first time on the Monster Report, my older brother Denver Poling from the great state of Hawaii, visiting us here in Indiana.
Aloha.
Aloha, and it's great to have you guys both here. Here in July, I just got back from GFest, wanted to show off some of the haul, and then do an unboxing with you guys, and see what we get here, and maybe even answer some questions. But here's the first item that I bought at GFest. These were kind of the big item there that this year. They were going fast. This is the Shin-Gojira, or New Godzilla. They're going to call it maybe Godzilla Resurgence, or Shin-Godzilla in America. But it's just a Bandai toy. He's definitely very plastic. He's got some movement in the legs. He's got those tiny little arms.
That was about to ask you that.
Yeah.
His arm shrank.
Yeah, they're quite small, aren't they? You know, looking at him, he's quite scary looking. He's got what we think might be him regenerating, or who knows what's happening.
Tail too.
He's got some stuff going on here on the tail.
It's not really arms either. It's like hands coming out of his chest.
Yeah. I made that comment too when we were doing the trailer reaction, that he's kind of like the T-Rex. You know, he's got the tiny little arms that don't do anything.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, you know, what do I do with these things? I mean, he could push himself up maybe a little bit if he fell over.
I don't know.
But yeah, he's
not much for push-ups. This guy.
not going to be. He's got a lot of the, you know, upper body strength, but his arms kind of took
Usually he's got massive shoulders for a guy with no arms.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, usually when you have these things, you see a guy that skips leg day. Well, apparently this Godzilla skipped arm day.
Yeah, he did.
But he did not stop, skip the leg day thing.
He could do some curls and maybe build those up a little bit more. But you know, he's got the crazy long tail, and the trailers are pretty awesome if you guys get the chance to see the trailer. And I've got some friends out there in Japan after GFest, headed that way to see the premiere of Shin-Gojira. So that should be interesting to hear their report on that later, and of course we'll get it in the States to be able to see an English version of it. So that's the first thing I got at GFest. And you know, I also got my typical program, my name badge, and this year there were two really cool yearbooks, one for Symphonic Fury, which was our concert last year, the music of Japanese monsters, and David Eric Dopko, who's the guy you always see at GFest with the camera snapping pictures. He put together the first annual GFest yearbook, which I got some appearance in both of those yearbooks, and a lot of his shots, some other shots by other guys, and it was just an honor to get a copy of that actually from him. Look forward to seeing what he does for this year's GFest next year for the yearbook. But of course our guest of honor we had was Mr. Akira Takarada from the original Godzilla. I did not pick this up at GFest. I already had this Laserdisc, if you've seen my other videos, and I had Mr. Takarada sign it. This is Godzilla vs. the Thing, the Japanese and international copy of that film, and there's Mr. Takarada down there in the corner with his signature, you know, poster, you know, madness going on. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing.
Kind of like, you know, pulling an MC Hammer, you know, can't touch this.
Can't touch this. Yes. And so he was really great to meet at GFest. I have never had the chance to meet him, and just an honor to meet someone from the original Godzilla who has been in several of the Godzilla films, from original Godzilla vs. Mothra, the Heisei also, 1992, Godzilla vs. Mothra, Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, and he was in a ton of non-Godzilla films as well. So he is, and his latest, of course, Godzilla film that he was in was Godzilla Final Wars in 2004. Oh, wow. So, you know, the man's been around quite a bit. If you think about it, he was in his 20s, his early 20s, when he was in Godzilla in 1954. So he is quite healthy for as old as he is, and he is, you know, honored to come to GFest, and I hope we get him every year. And you can see my video out there with my little daughter meeting Takarada, and you know, interacting with him. He's getting pictures with her. He just thought she was great, so I was glad to meet him.
Now, did he exclusively work for Toho, or did he do other studios as well?
Well, the studio system back in the 1950s and 60s, you were under contract to the studio, so you were in the films that they put you in.
Okay.
Later, that contract system went away, and you could work as an actor with an agent for hire for whoever needed you. But he's always been a very loyal Toho actor and very loyal to Mr. Honda, Ishiro Honda, the director of a lot of the original Godzilla films. So yeah, he is, and he's quite experienced. He was dubbed as the Japanese Cary Grant because he was a very, very handsome actor, very tall for a Japanese man, and he had really good screen presence. So he was really well liked by the public and just a great actor. But you know, the funny story that goes around is when he walked on the set of the original Godzilla, which was one of his either first or one of his first films. He walks onto the set, talks to the crew, and says, "Hey, I'm Akira Takarada. I'm the star of the film." And he was very humbled when they said, "No, Godzilla's the star of the film." But he still tells that story actually, so he knows, you know, that he knows the score, you know, when it really comes down to it. But just a great man to meet. And let's this is Box Day. GFestXXIII-Haul and Box Day. And my brother pretending it's actually heavy. From my good friend Chris Olio, who's in Japan right now. He had an extra Godzilla. This is not the gigantic series of Godzilla 62. This is the 30 centimeter X Plus version of him, but a lot of you guys out there got the big gigantic, and that's all well and good. I'm not like the guy who gets every X Plus every time they come out, because goodness gracious, they're costly. I mean, these are expensive toys to have. You see the entirety of my collection behind me. So we got the 62 from Chris, and I'm really glad to have even it in the suit. If you guys have seen King Kong versus Godzilla, of course that is the suit that fought King Kong in that legendary battle. This is the first time the monster, both King Kong and Godzilla, appeared in color and in widescreen. That film, King Kong versus Godzilla, which is a comedy. You know, it's you watch it, it's not to be taken seriously. It is a comedy in all ways, shape, and form. So they were having some fun with this film and this suit when it came out. Let's get this guy out of the box.
I remember the first time when we watched it, I was like, well, wait a minute. Godzilla's what, 500 feet tall? And King Kong was originally, what, 50 feet tall?
Yeah, the sizes keep changing. If you hear the American dub of the original Godzilla, he's 400 feet tall, which is not really, you know, and then there's the metric English system. Right. He's not that tall, but he is much taller, yes, than King Kong. And I always argue the fact that in the movie, you see King Kong getting stronger by electricity, and you're saying, wait a second, why? And Godzilla's actually scared of the electric poles when he's in the original Godzilla, just pushing through those things like they're not even there. And but they had to give King Kong some sort of advantage because he doesn't breathe fire, he doesn't have, you know, a tail, he's, you know, not as tall as Godzilla, he's got you know, a lot not going for him. So they beefed up King Kong to a larger size comparable to Godzilla, and they pitted up against, you know, the American iconic monster, King Kong, a giant monster, against the iconic Japanese monster. And in the end, in both versions, they have similar endings. The victor's really still the same. It seems like it's a stalemate. You see King Kong swimming out in the ocean towards his home on Faroe Island, and Godzilla doesn't surface. But Godzilla lived on, movies to come, so here he is. Let's get him out of the box, show everyone at home. There he is to breathe some fresh air. This vinyl figure. Bust him out. He is huge. And even though he's not the gigantic series, he's the 30 centimeter series, this is an enormous X Plus figure here. So, get all this packaging out of the way. Did you guys like King Kong vs. Godzilla? I mean, was it an entertaining film, at least?
I remember the last time I saw it.
I remember seeing it as a kid.
Yeah.
With you.
Hey, Deborah. You can come on in here and say hi to everyone. You've been on the Box Day videos. Oh, she's gone. Okay, she's not going to make an appearance today. camera shy. She got to meet Takarada, so she's too good for us now. Yeah.
I mean, hey, Denver, where's that other figure? Grab the other figure. Look at the arms on this Godzilla.
Yeah,
This one has no arms.
no arms, sorry.
It's very stubby.
Yeah. Who needs arms?
I mean, yeah.
You have radioactive breath and, you know.
What are you saying? There's radioactive breath.
He has radioactive breath. And he's got these boots.
He's got booties.
Yeah, gloves. Get
Glovies
them off.
and booties.
Glovies and booties.
He's, he almost feels ceramic, but he's not.
He is vinyl.
Vinyl, yeah.
Yeah. Good friend Rich Iso, who does Fresh Vinyl Live, say this is fresh vinyl. He is out of the box, smelling fresh air for the first time. Never had one wrapped quite as tightly as this glove is wrapped. You get me that out here. I'll give you the knife if you want it. You got her, okay?
Yeah, go ahead and talk.
Okay.
This.
So yeah, the cool thing about the X Plus figures, guys, and why a lot of us collect them is because of the likeliness that they take. You know, the realistic likeliness that they take to the suit. And this is probably the first X Plus figure that I have, and I might be corrected in the comments section, that has 3 toes. Because most of the time you see Godzilla with the, you know, the almost like the opposable toe down there, you know, like in the 1954 figure. But he's got 3 toes there.
Notice his dorsal fin's quite a bit bigger than some of the early ones.
Yeah, the dorsal fin, especially the central one there, much larger. There's our tail, and anytime you get an X Plus figure, the tail has to come separate because he's always so big with the tail attached, make the box twice as big as it is already. So, you know, we gotta do that task of getting a blow dryer out and reattaching this tail. But, you know, just look at that likeliness and all the texture, the paint job that's on him, and just so cool. And when you see it against the movie, you know, you watch the movie against, you know, holding this figure, and you see such a, you know, all the intricacies that went into making the suit itself and making it so a man could fit in it, fight in it, barely see in it, because a lot of the times they poke holes in the neck here, and sometimes you even see what looks like acne on his neck. And that's those are small holes that are poked in there so that the actor inside, Nakajima, can see and see what he's doing. But a lot of the times it didn't matter anyways because he just couldn't see. Right. So we're going to take a little break, get this tail attached here, and we'll be right back with a completed figure. And then, as he cools there, we get ourselves a completed figure, our 1962 Godzilla from King Kong versus Godzilla, 1962. Just an awesome movie, very entertaining. It's one I watch all the time. I have the Japanese version and the English Universal version. Sorry about that. And the cool thing about that film is, you know, the differences in the editing of the two. You actually see a lot more that's happening because you know that the whole story is about this pharmaceutical company that wants to pit up a monster versus Godzilla because the head of that pharmaceutical company is sick of Godzilla, and he says, "Get me a monster right away," and he sends these people to Faroe Island.
Like that.
Yeah, this is common everyday things for the world of Japan in the universe of Godzilla. They know that monsters exist, and they're just part of business. You know, get one, go to the island, get one, and then then they'll fight each other, and nothing bad will happen.
But they always acted surprised when those monsters came. It's like, oh crap, another monster is coming, and it's like, well, okay, it has happened like 14 or 15 times before. Why are you surprised?
Well, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong too. Isn't Mothra in Godzilla or King Kong versus Godzilla?
Mothra is not, actually.
He's not.
No. Mothra didn't make an appearance in the Godzilla series until the next film, Mothra vs. Godzilla 1964, or Godzilla vs. the Thing in the United States. But yeah, the Mothra series came later, and Godzilla was still known as a villain during this time. Because we'd had up to that point original Godzilla Raids Again, or Gigantus the Fire Monster in the United States, and then this film. So he's still considered the bad guy. And then Mothra vs. Godzilla, still a bad guy. When we got to Ghidra, the three-headed monster, then he started becoming the hero character who would fight the monsters that would invade the Earth or come from, Seatopia underneath the water, the Atlantis of the Pacific Ocean. Any monster. He fought pollution, in Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. And so that's when he started becoming the child-friendly hero character. But at this point, he is still our villain. In fact, all the X Plus figures, with the exception of 1968 up there, he is the villain. And so when he's always got the menacing eyes looking down on you, he's looking to destroy the place and smash it up. But even in the 1968 one, the aliens took control of him, and he smashed up Tokyo. Right. He actually smashed up New York and Tokyo a little bit in that film. But this is the film that he got to wrestle around with another great suit actor playing King Kong, who got to fling him over his arm, doing a really cool judo move, and he was quite physically fit for the job too, actually, to be able to do something like that, to physically play the Kong character. But Nakajima, even though he was beat up quite a bit in every of these films and almost lost, probably 10 to 20 pounds of his own weight every time he'd come to the film, he was still the actor of choice for Godzilla up to Godzilla vs. Gigan, actually, in the 1970s. So he had a long, long career being this guy in the suit. And
now
it shows.
He also played Rodan, didn't he?
Yes, Nakajima played Rodan. Yes, he's actually quite seasoned as the monster guy. And in fact, Guillermo del Toro in Pacific Rim kept quoting the Nakajima factor when he talked about the kaiju in that film. So yeah, here we are with that great looking figure. So you guys jealous of my X Plus 1962?
No.
You're not?
Actually not.
You don't want him?
No.
I'm a little jealous. This is bringing so much nostalgia back from when we used to watch it. Yeah. Although it had the worst looking King Kong in that movie.
Well, he's
No, I believe King Kong versus Teenage Frankenstein had the worst looking.
Okay.
I have never seen that one.
Yeah.
That's...
We'll have to do a monster report on that, I believe.
That must be an exploitation film or something. I've never heard of that one. Yeah, I've never heard of that one. But yeah, the other thing about this film was it was originally going to be a Frankenstein versus King Kong film, actually, or Frankenstein versus Godzilla. Who knows? It's kind of convoluted story, but the character of Frankenstein, of course, is reawakened by electricity. They gave that power to King Kong. That's why electricity makes him stronger, and we're like, oh no, it doesn't work. Doesn't make sense. But they had to give King Kong an advantage, so that Frankenstein characteristic went to King Kong. But then they did end up making a film, Frankenstein Conquers the World.
Oh wait, maybe that's what I'm sorry.
Frankenstein Conquers the World? You've seen that? Okay, yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, where
I don't know where I got King Kong from.
I don't know. Well, there's been a lot of King Kong Frankenstein trade-offs, and a lot of these films. If you look at the German translation, even though it's Godzilla on the cover, there's something about King Kong. Even Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, for some reason, the German title has King Kong in the title. Even Godzilla versus Megalon. You see a picture of Godzilla and Jet Jaguar and all these other monsters that look nothing like King Kong, but yet King Kong's still in the title. So it's almost as if Frankenstein's in the title, not King Kong. Sometimes King Kong will make it into the titles of the foreign posters, but a lot of the times the German ones will have Frankenstein. So maybe Frankenstein is in the Jet Jaguar suit, or maybe Frankenstein's parts grew into the sea monster or these other monsters that he always ended up fighting. There's a lot of kind of rumor out there about that. But for this suit, this is just another great addition to the collection of X Plus. And if you were a collector, you would be jealous.
True.
Of X Plus figures. Yeah, you just take the one. You can take it or leave it. But yeah, these are just so cool. I always love what X Plus does with these figures, and this is a great addition to the collection. So, any other questions, comments you guys have?
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm really impressed with the amount of detail that goes into it. I'm just, not a collector of things, but I mean, it is a fine-looking piece.
I'm just more impressed with the folds of the suit on everything. You can really tell it looks like an actor in a suit. I mean, they really went into detail on that. to keep him as authentic as possible from what you saw in the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and they always put him in really cool poses too. I always like that. And then there's other X pluses of similar figures. You'll see the 68, for instance, in different poses. You'll see the 54 sometimes with the train in his mouth, and different poses like that. So it's cool to see those different ones that made up the movie.
And I like the washed out color palette that they have on here. The only bright color is his eyes. The rest is all kind of washed out, kind of like it was how it was. You don't want to have Godzilla look like he's wearing lipstick or anything like that. You don't want to be too red. It's just a nice toned down version of the paint scheme.
Dulls it just a bit. Yeah, and the other thing about Godzilla is he was never green until Godzilla 2000, actually. He was always this charcoal black kind of color, actually. So gray, black, kind of like that. And it always really looked good in the film when they depicted him that way, especially in black and white in those first two films. But they kept that up with these films as they were going along, especially in the Showa series, the classic series. So thank you guys for both being here and joining me on an episode of the Monster Report. We'll have to have you back sometime. And thank you guys, all of you who were attending G-Fest and said hi and checked out what I had as far as some of the panels. I'm still uploading some of them to YouTube, so look forward to some of your comments and questions, and looking forward to seeing everyone at G-Fest next year. We've already got a lot of cool plans for it, so definitely stay tuned for some of the information that's going to be starting to come out about that. Wow, already a year ahead of time we're getting news about G-Fest, and there's some special things that are going to be going on with that, so it's something you definitely want to look forward to. So for me, Nick Adam Poling, and for my brothers Troy and Denver Poling, this has been the Monster Report. We'll catch you next time.
You